You had beer yeast and wine yeast come together, make a baby that is lager yeast. So what's cool about this is that now that we know this, there are yeast labs that are deliberately taking wine yeasts and beer yeasts and putting them next to each other, putting on the berry white, and making new.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
Are you aware of what this is?
I am aware of what that is. I always want to be aware of what that is.
Do you know what this is?
Do you know what this is?
Do you know what this is?
I know what that is. I think that's an alligator. I think they call that an alligator.
Actually, it's a pen. You failed.
Is it a pen? Okay.
It's a pen. But you passed alligator awareness.
I passed alligator. Yes. Happy Alligator Awareness Day, folks.
It's funny. There's all these holidays that are this awareness, that awareness, this awareness. A lot of them are, aware of like these diseases that human gets or risks to humans, and well, this is a risk to humans, I guess.
I would say so.
Yeah,
I would definitely say so.
So
beware
of alligators.
I am definitely aware of alligators. So I always want to be aware of alligators. If there are any around me, I definitely want to be aware of them. So
that is your public service announcement from the Locker Room Guys.
There you go. Any day.
There we go.
Exactly.
So it's some fun days today. I mean, it's like what did we say? It's a Nakedness Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you go to like a naked beach, and the people that go to naked beaches, you're really not going to appreciate nakedness.
Happy Nakedness Appreciation Day. I do appreciate nakedness. I do. In all forms, right? But especially pasta. Especially pasta. Naked pasta. Right?
How about lunch?
Naked Lunch is good. That's a good book too.
William Burroughs.
By William Burroughs, and there was actually a sex toy, and I won't say exactly what it is because it's weird to say that name or what it is. But there was a sex toy in the book Naked Lunch by William Burroughs, and do you know what that sex toy was called?
Is that the one that a band was named after?
That would be correct.
That'd be the Steely Dan.
The Steely Dan. That is correct.
Yes.
Absolutely. So happy Nakedness Appreciation Day, everybody. If you celebrate, and if you're celebrating, we invite you to join in the video, and
you can just watch the show naked.
Just watch the show naked.
No, we don't need to be pulled off any of the platforms, John.
Exactly.
Stop.
No. They could put the camera right here.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing. Or we can blur them out. I'm kidding. Anyway.
Pixelation.
It's also Happy National Video Game Day. If you
we could go on for and on and on and on about
there's like 30 days today. I mean, there's always a lot, right? But it's more like 3 or 4 or 5. There's like 30 today.
But there's one to us is probably more important than all of those.
Yes.
It is the birthday of Mr. Mike Kivovitz.
Happy birthday, Mike Kivovitz. Happy birthday, Mr. Kivo. And you're and obviously the owner, creator, originator, whatever you want to call him, of New Jersey craft beer.
Originator. I don't know.
Yeah, we go way back, Mike and I. So, but happy birthday. We appreciate you. I'll toast as soon as I pour a beer, but I need to pour a beer first. But before we pour a beer, let's bring our guest on, because he's been waiting in the green room for about 4 minutes and 24 seconds.
Some of that's the music, yeah.
No, that's true.
And we're all in the green room at that point.
At that point, true.
Just not together.
All right. So, want to welcome to the show today. We're going to talk a lot about what he does and everything. Let's welcome to the show, please, Mr. Don Tse, the Don of Beer. Welcome, Don.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you?
I was in that green room so long.
We really got to clean the mold out of that.
We do. Yeah, it's pretty stale in that green room. We got to get somebody on it. Jim, get on that.
I did want to ask the Beer Samurai if you do know how to tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile.
One will see you later.
And the other in a while. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
one
Very
more.
good. Thank you.
I see where you guys went.
I checked out his Facebook page. I know his sense of humor. I know he wasn't going for the technical answer on that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you have to walk up and open up their mouth and no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm good. I don't need to know the difference at that point.
It's the snout. It's mostly the snout, but
it is. Yeah, it's the one's more pointy, right? The other one's more like
the crocodile's longer,
and
broader and wider on the alligator.
Something like
anyway.
that. So, anyway,
we're just passing off so much knowledge on the show.
We are just exude, we exude knowledge.
But can we get to the beer?
I would love to get to the beer. Why don't we pour our beer?
Beer. Thank you.
You know what? Let's pour a beer. Don, have you opened one already? Or
I have, and I don't want to spoil this evening's topic, but I was told we would be at least in part be talking about Anchor Brewing.
We are going to talk about it.
Did I just spoil it for everybody?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
So two things. One is I wore my University of San Francisco shirt.
Very nice.
I didn't wear it just because it has my name on it.
Now, is that shirt? Is it your University of San Francisco shirt? So it's Don's University.
Exactly.
I don't see an apostrophe.
But I have a. I'm ashamed that I have too much beer. Then I have more beer than I can drink. And
you should see John's living room.
You should see it.
Yeah, I should. So some beers get older than I anticipate holding them. But I brought out an Anchor 2003.
Wow!
Oh wow!
So that's what I'm drinking this evening.
Very nice. Very nice. Kudos to you, sir. I'll give you one of these. Absolutely.
I don't know if I can get mine cold enough.
Yeah, it's probably not going to take.
I don't think mine goes back that far either. My vertical.
Oh wait, you guys haven't poured a beer yet, did I?
We haven't. No. That's it. You pour the first beer, so that's fine. Samurai, what are you drinking?
Well, this week I was down in Asbury Park Thursday, and I stopped in at Wild Air Brewing and saw Freshie, our friend Freshie. And yeah, Doug Phillips, Dougie Fresh, and walked away with some Inherent Vice, which is their house lager there.
I thought you walked away with some Inherent Vice.
Some Inherent Vice, yes. Well,
because when you see Doug, sometimes he passes on an Inherent Vice.
He's got a few of them. He's got some to spare.
He's got a few to spare. We love Doug. While you're pouring that beer. Now, what is that? That's their house lager, right?
It's their house lager. This is just nice and crisp.
Very nice. I might be cutting off one of the other beers you're going to drink, but I'm having one myself.
Yeah, that's my second. That's my second beer today.
All right,
you just opened.
My first beer is your second. So, cheers with this. I'm having a Coastal Brewworks Awkward Tan Lines Vienna Lager right there.
Yes, I wonder whose brewery that is.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
He's either part owner or a massive fanboy.
There you go. Cheers. Cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Clink. There we go. All right. So, let's kick this off the way we kick off every show. Don, got to ask you, to the best of your recollection, what was the first craft beer you ever had? Craftish. It could be craftish. It doesn't have to be craft. Doesn't have to be like some double IPA, double West Coast.
I'm going to give you two answers, if I may.
Give me three if you
want. I live in Calgary, Alberta, and our large-ish craft brewer is a brewery called Big Rock.
Okay.
One of their flagship beers is a beer called Traditional. And when I first moved to Calgary in I don't need to say the year, a long time ago.
Well back.
I do remember drinking Traditional and being quite wowed by that. Prior to that, I was mostly domestic lager, and in fact, I didn't like beer. Traditional is one of the beers that got me started in craft beer. The second answer I want to give is a now defunct brewery called Brew Brothers. They had a fairly esoteric style called the beer was called Black Pilsner. It was a Schwartz beer. And that was the first beer that made me actually go, wow, that blew my mind. And now almost 27,000 different beers later, here I am.
Here you are. There you go. That's awesome. Well, those are definitely two, two new ones, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look really quick here.
When he says that, as far as answers we've received from our guests,
Right, of course.
You just have to come north of the border. And,
Exactly. I'm just trying to find it on here. I have it here. It is, I think. Wayfinder Brewing actually had a black pilsner. It's Russian Circles Black Pilsner from Wayfinder. Had that a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Pretty damn tasty. But you generally don't see a Schwarzbier or a dark lager or whatever called, titled or style wise called a black pilsner.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
it's usually black lager, right?
Yeah. But it was. I mean, was it a dark lager? Was it a Schwarzbier? Of course. It wasn't.
Of course.
But it's pretty cool. I love that. Cool. Great two answers. First craft brewery. I'm assuming was it Big Rock or?
Probably Big Rock or Brew Brothers. Yeah.
Or Brew Brothers, right? Yeah. They were both up in Alberta.
Yeah, correct. Very nice.
And you're in Calgary right now, huh?
That is correct.
Not affected by the smoke.
Not right now. We have been quite a bit this year. In fact, it was a record year for smoke.
Sure,
I heard that on the news. But right now we're fine, and in fact, like much of the world, it's quite warm for the.
It's so crazy right now. It was so hot today down here. It really was. And we got some of that smoke too down here. We got a lot of it down here.
Actually, we got not the smoke that he was.
No, your smoke's more out west, but the stuff that was in Ontario and Quebec, that came down this way.
Yeah. It turned New York City into a post-apocalyptic scene.
It was orange out in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Just picture New York City walking around and it being orange. I mean, it thankfully that did not happen yesterday.
Right.
Okay? You know what I'm saying? Because that would have been too eerie.
Yes.
But yesterday what we got were really massive thunderstorms pour through.
They were very bad. So, all right. So what I want to dive into Anchor, but let's get a little bit of background. What got you into writing about craft beer? Obviously, just drinking your first traditional Black Rock.
Well, we haven't done that. We got to do that first. Tell people what Don does.
Yeah, well, I want him to tell them what he does. So,
before you ask him how I got into it.
Okay, yeah. So, all right, tell everybody what you do. Go ahead.
I guess I'm a freelance beer writer. Do some consulting. I co-host the All About Beer podcast. So please like and subscribe that.
We've heard about that podcast.
We might know about that one.
And just an extremely beer passionate person all around, I'd say.
Oh, I like that. Beer passionate person.
I do like that.
Yeah.
You identify as a beer passionate person.
We identify as a beer passionate person. We got from John Hall writes in, Don Tse.
Yes. Hi, John. Everything about beer, not just drinking it. I like all the the culture around. I like the technical aspects. So you want to start talking about free amino nitrogen levels in barley. Mm-hmm. I love talking about all of that stuff.
It's great, right? I love it as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So where do you you're freelance writer? What's some publications that you write for? Besides obviously All About Beer and the podcast you host.
Yeah, so I write for All About Beer, which is a consumer-facing publication. Forbes.com I write for. And then I also like to write for brewer-facing publications like the Brewing Industry Guide, published by Craft Beer and Brewing magazine. And there's an alcohol industry publication up here in Canada called Poured. I like to write travel bits. So, those wear magazines that you get in hotel rooms.
Sure.
I write for that publication. And, basically, I genuinely love everything about beer, whether it's consumer facing or technical, brewer facing, travel. I like all of it. And so I will write for anybody who will pay me. So I'm not fussy.
That's a good way to be, right? I do appreciate that too. All right. So what got you started with all of that? Back to my other question there.
Yeah, I mean, my life story is really not all that interesting. I used to practice law.
You know what? It's interesting to somebody, right? So
Yeah, I guess that's right. I used to practice law. I practiced law for a little over 20 years. Did corporate finance type of stuff, and during that time, as I guess a little bit of a creative break, I started writing about beer for a local arts and entertainment weekly. You know those free newspapers
Sure.
that used to be popular.
Yep.
I used to write for one of those, and did it just to kind of do something different. And the practice of law is quite stressful, and
A little bit.
so I kind of thought
Imagine.
it might be a retirement strategy for me to write about beer. So I wrote about beer very extremely part time for many, many years. And then when I decided to retire from law, started going full bore on it. And that's basically what I do now.
There you go. That's great. That's wonderful. It's, you know what? I mean, it's an industry unlike any other. I mean, we've talked about this numerous times, and I tell everybody that I talk to that doesn't know, right? People that know, obviously, I'm not going to tell them, but it's an industry unlike any other. The social aspect, it's a family. The community about it. Yeah, it's a family. I mean, you meet somebody. You go to a craft brewers conference, and you sit down next to somebody, and you're best friends with them in 5 minutes, and you keep in touch. It's not an odd story. It happens all the time, and that's what this is.
Just to build on that story, and just to demonstrate actually how nerdy I am. I was at Malt Academy a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
and it was a break, and so during the break, you meet other people, and there was this lady from Japan. What do you do? And she works for Sapporo. And I expected that she would be a barley buyer, but no, she's a barley breeder. Now, breeder. You don't meet many barley breeders, and
Interesting.
And you certainly don't meet many barley breeders working for a brewery. Right. So I was like, well, why are you here? And she goes, oh, well, because I do some research in Canada. I specialize in Knoxless barley. So, most people aren't going to know what that is. But I freaked out. Like, oh, my God, I am meeting Sapporo's barley breeder who specializes in Knoxless barley. She works with a professor at the University of Saskatchewan. His name is Aaron Beatty, who I know. And I mean, me telling you the story does not convey the excitement I had in that moment, meeting this barley breeder from Sapporo who works with Aaron Beatty on Knoxless barley varieties.
That's awesome. That's great.
This is what I love about beer.
Exactly. And it's on so many levels too. I mean, just even on the flat out, from everything in between, right? The social aspect of just walking into a brewery, sitting down, just being a consumer, walking into a brewery, sitting down and meeting somebody. And, I have friends that, now that I've met at breweries.
Yeah.
Way back when. Yeah. And they're, close friends now. And,
and also podcast co-hosts.
Well, that too.
John and I still can't remember where we met. It was either a craft beer bar or a brewery.
Or a brewery.
We can't remember where it was first.
There's a reason for that, but we'll let you figure out why. So, it was one or the other of the two. But in any event, it's from that level all the way up to what you're saying at the Malt Academy, meeting this barley breeder. And the science of it, and on the industry level and all of that, and everything in between. This industry is just amazing. I love everything about it, and I'm like, I've been in it for many years, but I'm also mad that I haven't been in it longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but all right. So what are also you also write about not to we'll just put a pin in beer for 1 minute. You also write about whiskey as well.
Much less so, but yes, it is a passion of mine. And so when the opportunity presents itself to write about whiskey, then I'll do that. I've even written about champagne and brandy and other things, but
nice.
And sake. Sake is a passion of mine as well. But I would say 95% of what I write is beer.
Gotcha.
And then everything else is 5%.
Gotcha. Well, that works. What are some of the more current pieces you've been working on.
So literally just today, I published a piece on Forbes.com about Oktoberfest. It starts on Saturday, so I wanted to get that out before Saturday.
Absolutely.
Pardon me. It's to be perfectly honest, a little bit of a fluff piece. But I thought of it just yesterday, so I needed to, just get something out.
Get it down, yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm passionate about writing about barley because I live in Alberta, which is a great barley growing region. We make some of the best barley in the world, malting barley in the world. So I love writing about barley. I love writing about yeast. I'm a modern art fan, as you may have gathered from the painting behind me. So I love writing about the intersection. I think of craft beer as an art form in and of itself. And so I love...
it definitely is.
I love when people talk about how beer and music intersect. I like music, obviously, but I'm not a music knowledgeable person. I do like writing about how art and beer intersect. So label art or whatever. These are the types of things I like.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, there's label art out there that's just like ridiculously amazing. So well done. It's
and then even from a business standpoint, the best label art, when you're standing in the beer cooler and there's 200 cans on those shelves, and you can from 20 feet away go, that's a beer from XYZ brewery. That's amazing how skilled people are at doing that.
Absolutely.
Now, am I the only one? And not just label art, but also tap poles.
Yes,
tap handles. Am I the only one who, when you're watching a TV show or a movie, and someone's either got a beer in their hand or in their bar, you're looking? Oh, that's that beer. I will pause the movie to read to look at the tap handles.
I do all the time. Well, you know that.
Absolutely.
There's so many shows we're watching that Carrie and I will be sitting there and watching Bourdain, and he'll be in another country. It's like, what's he drinking? And I can see part of the label. Like, oh, that's a Tsingtao. He's drinking a Tsingtao. And sometimes you can get it from just part of the label, but you also kind of know where he is, so that's kind of giving away as well.
Sure.
But my eyes always go to the tap handles. What's it? The can or the bottle that's in their hand. And also if they're in a bar, I'll be checking out the liquor bottles in the back, seeing what they carry.
There was I'll even there are movies where, like, let's say they're supposed to be in London.
I've done this too.
Then you see the channel that pub is not in London.
Continuity. and they don't even know it.
No,
they don't put it together, right? But that's great. Yeah, I do that all the time. But even so, tap pulls, label art like we just discussed, but beer itself is an art form. Yes, a lot of beers these days have 75,000 ingredients, right? But with all the adjuncts and everything else, but just around Heizkaboot, 4 ingredients and the variety of styles, obviously different, but what you can do with them and the talented brewmasters that can just make magic with those 4 ingredients. It's just we do it and it still astounds me. I love every bit of it. So
it's chemistry meets art.
Yep, exactly. All right. So let's put a pin in that. I want to come back to a little bit more about you. I have a few questions, but I want to jump into Anchor. All right. You've written a few things. You've written a few pieces on Anchor. Obviously, we know, most of us, if you don't know, anybody listening or watching this or just listening to the audio show afterwards, Anchor Brewing was purchased in 2017, right, by Sapporo. And then Sapporo decided that they were done. Closed up shop as of August 31st. August 31st, right? Or July 31st. No, it was July 31st.
It was July 31st.
July 31st.
Yeah, because
it might have even been a couple days before July 31st.
Yeah. It was 28th, 29th, something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
I had just gotten the confirmation for my tour
of
Anchor Brewing, because I'm going to San Francisco on the 26th, and I was going to tour on the 28th, and
Now you're not.
Then I got the cancellation notice.
So, but and while and there's a lot of things we've talked about. A few things on the show. We've talked about Don. We've talked about the fact that it's our fault to a point, obviously. But yes, drink local. We preach that drink local, drink wherever you are. Drink local, drink local, right? Drink local. There you go. But no,
I can drink local too.
There you go. Very nice. But no, seriously. But don't forget where you came from, right? Like we said, like Dave said that. You don't have to drink, all of the bigger boys that have grown up basically all the time. But don't forget them. I'm at fault. I probably once in a blue moon bought a 6-pack of Anchor Steam.
You bought a blue moon?
Bad analogy. I'm sorry. Once in a while, I bought a 6-pack of Anchor Steam or the Porter. But every year I bought I usually buy like 2, 3, 6-packs, if not a case of
the holiday,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. But our special ale, whatever you want to call it. So to me, I was like, okay, well, I'm doing my job, but I should have bought a little bit more steam. It's an amazing beer, and you can drink a 6 of that in 2 days, easy.
So what we've done is we've challenged our viewers and our listeners to remember those breweries that you would hate to see go bye-bye,
right?
That help kick this off.
Use this as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, go out and buy a 6-pack. Maybe once every 3 months of one of these breweries. But if everyone does it,
everybody does it, then
right.
Along with the people that are buying them more often,
we're trying to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. Like I had a Founders on the show the other day.
Yeah.
Stone. I've got a Voodoo Ranger in the fridge. I'm going to drink one of these shows.
I'll be having a Founders on the show we're doing on October 17th. I'll be having a Founders.
There we go. So
the other day.
And I will probably having a Sam Adams on there. I mean, they don't need our help really, but they are still one of the OGs.
Right.
Sierra Nevada doesn't particularly need our help, but again, another one of the OGs. So we've talked about this. Get out there, grab some of those breweries that we'd all cry about.
Exactly. But that aside, the employees have been trying to, start, this campaign to get funding. I believe somebody started a GoFundMe and it's up to $70,000. Now they need about 100 times that.
Well, their goal was 50,000, and I think it was just really to make a statement. And they wanted 50,000 in 5 days. They got 70,000 in 3. It
was probably, my guess was, and Don, tell me if you think I'm on par here with this. My guess is that they wanted to make a statement to actually show potential investors in them that, hey, there are people out there that still want this. So, back us, and we want to continue.
I think that's probably a fair assessment. I did talk to some people who work there, and I want to make sure I don't violate, their trust and confidentiality. Right. But I think that's right. They are not naive. The purchase price of that brewery will be, an 8 or 9 digit number. The real estate itself is worth, an 8 or 9 digit number.
Sure.
So $50,000 wouldn't even pay the legal fees in that transaction. And they're not the employees are not stupid. They know that. So yes, the point of the GoFundMe at $50,000 was not to raise $50,000. It was to demonstrate to somebody who's hopefully paying attention that people care.
Right. Exactly.
To raise the awareness.
Exactly.
And not just about alligators.
Right. Exactly. Now, I spoke with, and this was just off the cuff, and I actually couldn't find the article he was talking about. A gentleman the other night, I was in a brewery on Saturday, and I was speaking to a gentleman that was originally from San Francisco, now lives in New Jersey. And he, big Anchor fan. We had a long conversation about Anchor Brewing, and he said that he's heard, and through a couple of people that he knows out in San Francisco, and also from this article he read, and he gave me where he read it, and I couldn't find the article, but he heard that Sapporo is looking to sell off piece by piece certain things, kind of, putting, to bed any aspirations or hopes that this can actually happen with the employees, what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I doubt that. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Sapporo is out of the picture in all reality. So the sale process is what they call an ABC process, which is assignment for the benefit of creditors, which means there is an assignee, and that assignee is tasked with trying to realize as much value for the benefit of creditors, meaning that dollar amount will not be enough to pay off the creditors. So Sapporo will get zero out of this. And so Sapporo really should have no influence over the process here. The negative of the negative consequence of that is that the liquidator, the assignee, is not a beer company. I would rather Sapporo sell it, to be honest, because Sapporo is a beer company and they might care to keep it as a going concern or whatever. The assignee doesn't care. The assignee is tasked with trying to get as much value as possible. If they can get more value out of selling it as a whole, they will do that. If they can get more value out of selling it piecemeal, they will do that. The funny thing is that the process is not very transparent, and that's quite puzzling. So this is a bit of a head scratcher of a situation for me, if I'm being frank. Yeah.
It's a head scratcher for everybody. I mean, I've been trying to follow along as best possible, and not obviously on a daily basis, but when I sit down, I can, I'll check in on it, so to speak. But
is something like that supposed to be transparent?
Yes. So the assignee is obligated to try and realize as much value from the assets as possible. There's typically a sale process. There's a sale book. They vet eligible bidders, and then those bidders, typically sign a confidentiality agreement, and then they're given access to data, and then there's usually a bid deadline. So by such and such a date, give me what you're willing to buy and what price you're willing to pay. And then the assignee's job is to say, okay, this company is willing to take the whole thing for X dollars, or I can sell this and this. And it never matches up that the people who want to buy parts, it never is all of the parts get parsed out. So the assignee's job is to then manage the risk and say, okay, I've got a serious buyer for this part and that part. That leaves me with this part that I need to deal with, or worse, sometimes the parts overlap, and then in which case you have to negotiate with who's going to buy what.
Sure.
So they have to. The assignee's role is not simple. It is quite complicated. But I'm digressing here. The point I'm trying to make is there's typically a data room. There's typically a bunch of data provided. There's confidentiality agreements that need to be signed. And then there's a timeline. There's a set timeline as to when bids will be accepted by, when the decisions will be made, and then the sale process happens. And I've talked to multiple parties. I guess I'll say all outside parties, because I've not talked to the assignee, I've not talked to the investment banker, and I've not talked to anybody at Sapporo. Not for lack of trying on my part, but but I've spoken to a number of parties. I don't know the deadline. It does not appear to be there does not appear to be a deadline.
Okay.
Is that good or bad news for those who want to see Anchor come back?
It's bizarre news. Like I cannot figure this out.
Because in the way I'm, as a layman, the way I look at it, if there's no deadline, then maybe that means that they're hopeful, but they know it's going to take a little while. If they put a deadline on it, then it's telling that, to me as a layman, would say, now they really just need to recoup as much money as possible. Here's the deadline. At this is where we're going to break it down.
I want to say that you're overthinking it, but I can't tell you you're wrong because this is a whole situation that
It's
is
bizarre. You know, I mean,
bizarre.
it's definitely a glass half full,
So
you know, optimistic view on it. But
the thing I'll tell you is the assignee doesn't care. The assignee's job is to maximize dollars. They don't care. The creditors don't care. The creditors are sophisticated investors. They want as much money as they can get as fast as possible. And they want it off their books because they have reporting obligations, IRS obligations, all that sort of thing. So if they're going to take a hit, they want to just take that hit. They don't want to like, well, if we wait a year, we might get an extra penny on the dollar. No, they want it off their books. They're also, you have to understand, we talk about lenders and creditors as corporations, but you have to understand that there's a human being there.
Yeah.
There's a human being who actually blessed the lending of that money. And that person gets paid bonuses based on, you know, the success of their debt book or the failure of their debt book. They want this off their desk so that they can start accruing the next bonus. So these deals typically move incredibly fast. I used to be a lawyer. I did deals where I'd get a phone call on Friday night and we would announce like a $10 billion deal on Monday morning. These things move fast. And this whole situation is bizarre to me. I cannot explain it.
It definitely seems that way. You know, coming from somebody that hasn't, you know, done the deals and seen the deals that you've seen, it still looks, you know, bizarre all around. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, I like to, the optimist in me is trying to believe that something good will come of this, right? You know, there is an investor or an investment group or somebody that's already been in communication with the employees and they've been working things out and they've been talking to the assignee and, you know, and it's, you know, behind closed doors and nothing, you know, because there's nothing concrete yet. And they're just kind of, you know, trying to flush everything out and go back and forth and see if it's even worth it or whatever. And I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah,
I really, really am. I am. Well, I don't want to see this brewery gone forever.
Well, so I will say this, and again, I want to not violate anybody's confidentiality, but I've spoken to a number of parties, and I know that, you know, a lot of people think, oh, I'll buy the brewery. That's great. I know that there are some very serious buyers with realistic numbers, and that the brewery could be saved as a whole if the assignee is willing to sell to them. Gotcha. And the only reason the assignee wouldn't be willing to sell to them is if the assignee felt they could piece it off for more money. But the bidders that I've talked to are aware that they're bidding against piecing it off too. They're sophisticated enough to know that. So I do think that there is a realistic chance that somebody will save the brewery.
That's great to hear.
That's great to hear.
But the more days that tick by,
the lower that goes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Well,
I'm sorry I ruined the mood.
You've killed John. He's gone straight into apoplexy. No, actually,
sorry about that.
What you've told us actually sounds like a ray of hope.
There is definitely a ray of hope,
right? And it's probably better news that we've heard about this in a while, that there are investors out there that are willing to buy this brewery. And it comes down to a numbers game, whereas, you know, us, and when I say us, that's the beer lovers out there. We're looking at this with our hearts.
Sure.
and our tongues and
a certain amount of nostalgia.
and the bellies that we've created from all of this. That's what we're looking at it from. Whereas it's really just a numbers game.
It's just numbers now. Yeah.
And hopefully the numbers will play out and all parties will be amenable to some sort of deal that will save this brewery, and we'll see this back. And if this comes back and there's people out there who are crying about it, who do not have a 6-pack of Anchor Steam in their fridge after it comes back, I will personally come to their house and smack the shit out of them.
I'll say this right now. Dave, and you can tell me if where I'm going with this works. If the brewery's saved, knock on wood, it is. But if this does happen, once they're up and running and motoring again, and the tap room, tasting room tour opens back up again, we will plan something for not too long after that to get out there and do a live broadcast from Anchor.
God, I really hope they can save it by the 24th, because I'll be because I'm already out there. Maybe I can get my tour date back.
The one thing that I don't know, so even if the assignee does decide to sell it piecemeal, the most valuable asset is the real estate. Right. To be frank, I think everybody knows that. I don't think
so. Anchor owned the property.
Correct. And I've heard various estimates of the worth of that. It's San Francisco.
Yes.
It's not over in like the outskirts of Oakland or
exactly. No. Nobody is shocked to hear this piece of land is worth a lot of money.
Right.
But so if the assignee is going to sell it off piecemeal, one of the assets for sure that has value and therefore would be sold as well is the branding and
the trademark,
intellectual property. So Anchor will survive in some form or another. What I don't know is how hard or easy it is to get that beautiful copper brewing equipment out of the
steam system.
So whether that's salvageable or not, I don't know.
That's Now you're talking some physical complexity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That stuff isn't new, so it's not
not
exactly
any means
easy to pull out of there. Yeah,
it's been there for little while.
It's been there for a minute.
Yeah. So, but I will say that though, if and when this does happen, we'll make
figure something.
We'll make plans. We'll figure something out. We'll get out there, and you know what? We'll invite Don as well.
Yeah,
and we'll invite John, and the four of us. So, yeah, and we can have what was the post you put up today? Haul on ass.
Yeah. So haul on ass.
I will say my first beer when we do this will be Liberty, because
Liberty's a great beer.
I haven't had Liberty in so long. Yeah, I think I'll join you on that.
John, I will as well. John Stardumsky had a Liberty Ale, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He did he put it up on Honest Craft Beer Reviews. And he had an old foghorn too.
He had an old foghorn, and man, it's like how old is that beer? He has an old foghorn. That's amazing. He's probably got a huge basement full of beer he can just go down.
Definitely. I think I have a lot of beer. I think Dave has a lot of beer. John blows us away.
He's got so much. As much as I will definitely start off probably with an Old Liberty. To me, my favorite thing that they produce is that porter. I adore that porter. Adore the porter. It's an American porter should always be judged by Anchor's porter, and I just hope it's around to be a baseline in the future.
Yeah, I concur.
That's such a great beer.
So, well, I think I can say that we all are like-minded in the fact that we want this to, we're hopeful that this will continue. We're hopeful it will continue in that building in San Francisco, but it will continue regardless somewhere.
We hope.
We hope it will continue.
But to Don's point, if they can't get that equipment out there and reinstall it someplace else, if they separate the equipment and the trademark from the property, and they can't do that, will it be the same? Remember what happened to Pilsner Urquell when they changed their tanks?
Sure.
Right? Pilsner Urquell changed. It's still a good beer.
It's not what it was.
But it's not what it was. You know, we lost something when they changed their tanks. You know, they did it to themselves.
Yeah, there wasn't any that was choice.
Yeah.
So,
but now let's also face it. There have been we've lost breweries here and there, some more national than others, and we've all said, "Oh, well, that's a crying shame," and we've moved on with our lives. You look at the craft beer community right now, and we're not moving on with our lives from this one.
No, this one hits home. This one is harder. This is definitely harder. Absolutely, more so than anything that I've
The way it was announced too, it was a little bit bizarre.
Oh God, it was so quick.
Because there was rumors that they were gonna have layoffs or something like that.
Layoffs and just scaling product back,
right? Yep. And then there was rumors that somebody was gonna buy them, and then the truth was they were shutting down. It was.
But the
scaling back. I forgot.
There was the layoffs, scaling back, and closure, all happened within a week.
Yeah.
It was
a week and a half.
These announcements all happened within 1 week. It's like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
It's like you just finished reading like the third or fourth article on the scale back and the layoffs, and then another one pops up. We're done.
Yeah, I think you really have to question what was going on in there, because nobody says I'm going to scale back unless they think that's going to save the brewery. Right. And in less than a week, they decided, no, that's not going to save the brewery. I'm going to shut it down. They never did it. So somebody misanalyzed something.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I don't think that for a brewery that size and that, with that much, let's face it, debt at that point, scaling back probably wasn't the smartest thing. I mean, if they wanted to keep it going, and obviously, just, cutting ties, jumping ship, licking their wounds, calling it a day, that obviously was what they did. But, if they did have any interest in continuing the brand, scaling back probably wasn't the smartest thing. A new marketing campaign, I think that, look, we talked about label art before. I don't think the move that they made going to those new labels for all the product, for all the bottles, right? The bottles didn't change, but the label art did. And I didn't, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't Anchor.
It was sort of comical, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you do that? I mean,
it modernized it. It cleaned it up a little bit, made it a little crisper, but we were also used to the Anchor label at that point. There was
what we love about Anchor is the history.
It's the history, right?
Absolutely.
You get to that point, you don't change
100%.
that. You want to introduce a new brand with a new label, that's fine. You don't change what is history.
Yeah,
when it's to that point.
Well, and I think you can modernize while honoring the history. It was too much of a wholesale abandonment of the
wholesale changes.
Yep.
Total wholesale change.
Yeah, it'd be like Sam Adams taking their Patriot guy and dressing him hip hop.
It would be like
it'd be like Sam Adams taking their Patriot guy and making it a Buccaneer.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, there we go. All right. I do
Brady's
like
retired
very good.
now, but I like what you did.
And his numbers retired as of the other day too.
Is that right? I didn't see that.
Yeah, they retired at
Tampa.
No. In Foxborough in New England. On Sunday they retired Brady's number. So
they should have.
And now that they retired Brady's number, 2 days later, there's chatter that the Jets are going to try to lure him out of retirement because Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles tendon last night.
And if that
will not happen, we know that won't.
And if that fails, they'll go after Favre.
Yeah, right. Again, try it again. Come back.
And that might actually work.
You're 5 years from 60. Come on back and throw a football. Right?
He'd do it.
He probably would.
So I hate to admit this, but to the extent I have an NFL team, it's the Raiders. So I could say that the Jamarcus Russell is still available.
Yeah, he is. Jamarcus Russell is still available. So you can go out and get him for a low price. Now, look.
Wait a second. You should be a Stampede fan.
I am a Stampede fan.
Okay, good.
Well, he said he has an NFL team. The Stampede's not in the NFL.
No, they're not. But I have a CFL team. I do root for the Argonauts.
Oh, really?
Well, it's because I was a history major and love mythology, and they're named after a myth.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I like the Argonauts.
I thought you were a fan of failure.
I like that. Actually, I'm a Mets fan, a Giants fan, and a Rangers fan. So apparently, I am a Mets.
And I concur on all three of those teams. So yeah, I'm a Giants fan, and I don't even want to talk about Sunday night's game, but we'll leave that alone. I just, you know what? I mean, I put up a meme last night, and it was a Giants helmet, and it says, "Giants fans, our game last night was pathetic," and it was a Jets slogan that says, "Hold our beer."
Yeah, but the Jets won the game.
But the Jets won.
But they won the game. But they won.
But they
you know, I
lost.
could have said, "Look, as a Giants fan, I don't hate the Jets. I don't dislike any local team. All right, but I do have to say, I do feel really bad for Aaron Rodgers. I feel really bad for the Jets, and I feel really bad for Jets fans.
I agree with that
because I live with one, but that's besides the point. But
and he has to say that.
I have to say that. So,
stay classy.
stay classy.
Stay classy. Is that from Cleveland?
It's Barrel Post Z. I actually don't know where they're from. Weymouth, Massachusetts.
Weymouth, Massachusetts. Yeah, they are.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, by the way, my second beer.
That's where what you call it's from as well. You said vitamin C, didn't you?
Vitamin C, yeah.
Yeah. I always remember where vitamin C is from because I'm a Talking Heads fan, and Tina Weymouth is their bass player.
There you go. This is my second beer, by the way.
Concerto de Malts.
Concerto de Malts from Brick City.
Brick City, very nice.
And this Saturday they're having Lagerfest at Brick City. So,
very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually on my third.
You're actually your third. What was your second beer? You never showed that.
Well, I told you originally. You're just trying to get a shameless plug again. You're just you're so transparent.
I am.
No. So this is Wallen Paul Pack Brewing Company's largemouth hazy IPA, and it is hazy.
IPA. I've never heard of that beer style.
Yeah, it's a new one. It's this new fad.
Okay.
And it's funny. And John will back me on this. It's rare that I drink IPAs on the show.
We rarely do drink. I mean, it's the lager room, right? So we rarely do drink IPAs.
Well, there was a time there where it was rare for us to drink a lager because
the lager
changes. The lager resurgent hadn't happened when we started.
When we started, I mean, we tried to drink as many lagers as we could, but there just wasn't as many available when we first started the show. So we drank a lot of ales, obviously, but now obviously. We try to keep it to all.
Yeah, we're quite lager heavy, but every now and then you got to throw in the fad styles.
Well, my third beer is technically, and I'm about to pour it. My third beer is technically an ale. So, but it's one of my favorite styles of ale. It's not an IPA, so you'll see in a minute. But
because hazy IPA is one of my least favorite styles. But I was out in Wallen Paul Pack, and someone told me you had to try the largemouth hazy IPA. That was their best beer, and it did come from a hophead that told me this. But I was like, okay, I got to try it just to. And you know what? It's a hazy IPA.
It's a hazy IPA. There you go. Yeah. Is it juicy?
It is. It's juicy. There's very little IBU to it. It's
0 would probably be the correct.
It is the IPA for people who hate hops.
There you go. I heard
there's actually a little bit of bitterness to this. I'll give them that. We're probably looking at about 15 to 20 IBUs on this one.
There you go. Dave, I heard through the grapevine that you do enjoy drinking one particular hazy IPA, and that's one of your main check-ins. Like you're one of the higher check-ins on tap.
That's not an IPA. It's a session ale.
No, not that one. The other one that you're.
Oh, you're talking the Session Hazy IPA.
Hazy IPA.
John's trying to get another shameless plug here, Don. Can you Don, bring up another topic and make John stop. Actually, what are you drinking? You got yourself a nice glass out of there.
I was drinking the vitamin C beer. He said.
Right.
The Stay Classy India Pale Ale from Weymouth, Massachusetts. It's new to me. I love trying new beers. I very rarely try a beer for a second time. I don't want to say never. For example, I've had that 2003 Anchor Christmas ale before. But my whole thing
about 20 years ago.
About 20 years ago. In fact, you're probably correct.
When you were 5, right?
Right, exactly. When we were all 5. Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it now live on this podcast, but I take notes on every new beer I try. I have my own database because this goes way back beyond, before there was Untapped, before there was Rate Beer and all that. So I have my own database.
These guys.
Exactly. I have my own database of I'm just under 27,000 different beers that I've tried.
Wow. I don't know where my number
27,000.
Because I have my Untapped number. I've got my Allstat Brothers number. And I know I was drinking beer before that, and not everything was ever checked in.
Here, actually, I can tell you this is beer number 26,932.
68 right. To go to 27,000.
I was going to say, call me in 68 beers. We'll celebrate together.
Well, in fact, Dookie, I will let you know. I do around what do you milestone numbers. I always like to do some sort of charitable event around them. And so for my unfortunately, my 25,000th beer got screwed up by a certain quarantining issue that we had a couple years ago.
Oh, I remember something about that.
Yeah,
I heard something.
Was that the hoof and mouth disease?
Exactly.
Hoof and mouth.
Exactly.
Oh no, that was foot and mouth. Never mind.
For my 20,000th beer, we raised $20,000 for charity, for a local charity here.
That's awesome.
For children with diabetes. Thank you.
Wow, that's great.
And so for my 30,000th, I already have a brewery on board. They're going to brew it for me. And I've told them I have a goal of raising $50,000. So that'll be in about a year and a half.
That's interesting math. 20,000, 20,000, 30,000. 50,000.
Well, because you gotta
math. I like your math.
You gotta up it.
So 40,000 is going to be 100,000.
Yes, 100%.
But here's the thing: at the rate of inflation these days, 20,000 is 50,000.
Yes, exactly.
In that time span. So
but really, I will let you know, and it would be awesome. It would be awesome if we could make this an international affair.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. And you know what? Obviously, you already have a brewery on board for 30,000. Let me know, and we'll do something for. We'll definitely do something for 35 or 40 or whatever you want to do.
We may have ways to get you into different hemisphere.
Yeah.
That's
we actually do have connections there. We could do that
in a few
countries. So you know what? So does John, though. I mean, come on. Let's
yeah, Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall. If he's so inclined, it's getting him inclined. Well, no, he inclines a lot, but a
little bit. But yeah, no, I definitely want to do that. Definitely would love to do that. Let me pour my other beer. My third beer, if you will, is I just pulled it out right there. Highwire Brewing Bed of Nails to Brown Ale, one of my favorite styles, right there.
That is an excellent beer. If you get to Asheville, Highwire is.
Have you been down to Asheville, Don?
I have not, but I am going in October.
Okay.
First time.
Yeah. If you go to Asheville, Highwire is usually one of those that usually isn't not on people's lists. Dissolver will be on the list.
Dissolver's on the list. Burial's on the list.
Burial's always on people's lists. Wicked Weed, yes, is on lists, depending upon how you feel about their owners. But there's this one intersection, and we kept walking past this brewery. So I walked into Highwire. The first beer I ordered was the beer that John's about to drink. And I went, why is this not on anybody's list? So we drank a whole bunch of other of their beers, brought some of their beers home, and they are probably one of the sleepers in Asheville.
Definitely a sleeper in Asheville. They have a red rye ale that they always have. It's amazing. It's a really, really well done red rye. They do Belgians well. They
Yes,
do
they
do barley wines very well,
and straight up sours.
yeah, and their pilsners are pretty spot on too. So I mean, they cover it. They really do.
I've had 4 of their beers. I've just
Oh, here we go.
There you
database here.
What did you had?
I've had Highwire Lager.
Okay,
It's a good beer.
Hazy and juicy and hoppy and fresh.
I don't think I've had that
Is the
one.
name of the beer.
No, I didn't have that.
It sounds like an alt beer.
Yeah, it sounds like an alt beer. High pitch Mosaic IPA and low pitch juicy IPA.
I've had both of those. I've had high pitch and low pitch.
The Mosaic was very good.
Mosaic is very good. Yeah,
you can't go wrong with Mosaic.
No, you.
What did Augie refer to?
Mosaic is the slut of hops.
The sluttiest
auto tune of beer.
Right. So, but no, it's such a good hop. So there's a lot of hops now that can fit that bill right now.
Yes, that's
the slut of hops. So
yes,
Mosaic was the original slut of the juicy hops.
Citra, Simcoe, they're all
yeah. So. Oh god, so many Citra Mosaic beers out there.
Oh yeah,
and to steal a line from Matt Potensky, I just forgot that line. I'm not mad over it.
I'm not mad about it
because that's it. It is a beautiful combination. Those two hops.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, those two hops work so well together. So it's a good thing.
There's another hop that complements Citra Mosaic.
Please,
Galaxy.
Yeah. Galaxy complements everything.
Well, this is true. So, but yeah, you put those 3 hops together, you're not off base. You're not on a good recipe. So,
talking to someone whose palate actually Galaxy for me throws soap.
Oh, really?
Which is weird. You know what?
Yeah.
You're not the only person, and I know that about you.
Can I ask? Do you like cilantro?
Yes. I was just saying yes because I know what your question was going to be. but now the answer is no.
Really?
Cilantro throws soap for me as well.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yes.
It does. Yeah.
So cilantro, Galaxy. There's
got to be some sort of connection in the
DNA
of that plant.
Yeah. And, see, I love this.
Yeah, we're
nerding out. It has to be right. So, and because Dave's not the only one that I've heard say that about Galaxy.
And if you can remember
who love Galaxy, there are people that say no, it's soapy. I don't want that.
If you can remember who that is, ask them if they like cilantro.
Next time I talk to them, and they read back, I will definitely.
I feel sorry for you because Galaxy is amazing and cilantro is amazing.
Cilantro is amazing too.
People tell me this all the
cilantro.
time, but for me, it's just I'll get the street tacos. You'll see me flicking off the cilantro off the tacos. I'll leave about 3 or 4 leaves.
You know what? The next time we get them, I'll hold my taco here. You just flick the cilantro up onto my taco. All right, there we
go. But I've had so many beers where I've drank it, went, and then go and ask the brewer, what hops you have in here? Almost every single time there's Galaxy in it. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, it's just there's something about Galaxy hops that are different than all other hops that will do this. And I'm waiting to see if there's ever going to be another hop that'll do this. This may be some variant.
For sure there will be. Yeah. Okay.
There's got to be.
I'm fascinated by this. I'm going to try and figure out what the compound is in cilantro that people don't like. And I'm going to see if Galaxy hops have that same. Is it the same compound or
I would love to find that out too. Please.
It would be weird that hops would have that same compound.
Well,
one herb has.
Not as weird as you might think it would be.
Yeah, I agree with John on this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but no, I definitely think there's a connection. There has to be a connection.
So I'm just going to nerd out a little bit. There is a yeast company that made a gene edited yeast that they wanted to make it. They wanted the yeast to produce hop like flavors without hops, and so they were able to identify 2 or 3 chemicals that are found in Cascade hops that give Cascade hops their unique flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted the yeast to be able to produce those flavors without Cascade hops. And the source of, I remember one of them, I don't remember the other, but the source of the gene that they spliced into the yeast was mint
Interesting. So
and something else. I can't.
that
remember
really,
what it
but
was,
that gives a whole lot more power to your.
the idea that
Yeah, you know what I
cilantro
mean.
and
I could see. Here's the thing. I could see that if it's playing with something else. So whatever that the one source that you can't think of, I could see mint actually being part of a compound
I can see
that actually can
produce
grow
pine.
Simcoe.
That can throw pine, right?
Right.
Yeah, because mint and pine are probably not all that far off if you really think about it.
And what's interesting, though, of course, is that we're thinking of the flavor chemicals that mint and pine and cilantro and galaxy have. But really what they did was they spliced the gene in. So the gene is producing some, like, it might have nothing to do with.
Right. No, you're right. It's we're on another level here. We're not just saying they're getting a mint flavor and this flavor and putting it together and it's pine, right?
Yeah.
Or Dave likes to say, we're talking about Simcoe here, so Dave likes to call it Simcoe. I said Dave likes to call Simcoe the flavor of Simcoe.
I have no idea.
Something about there you go, cat pee. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's not. That's because it's not me. I'm quoting somebody else when I say.
I know, but you like to say it, so I just threw you a beach ball. What are you doing? Yeah.
But it's not always Simcoe. There's other hops that.
Of course,
for sure. Yeah,
right.
Tons of them.
Some even more so than Simcoe does.
But to Don's point, it's the gene that's exhibiting that or inhibiting that not inhibiting.
Yeah, well, possibly sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's just amazing the chemistry in it. It just astounds me.
At this point, they're beyond chemistry. John's talking about genetics now.
Yeah, the
right.
Things,
the genetics of the chemistry of the plant, right? So
some of the things that scientists are doing with genes is absolutely amazing. Like we talk about the yeast here, and Omega just was able to determine that yeast that makes beer hazy. That's a gene. Diastaticus is a gene, but it's influenced by what they call a promoter gene. This is all, within the last 2-3 years, stuff that we're figuring out. The lager yeast. This is the lager room. Lager yeast comes from 2 independent, naturally occurring hybridizations of Saccharomyces cerevisiae and Saccharomyces eubaeus, which is a wine yeast. So in Patagonia, South America, and in Germany, by some strange coincidence, you had beer yeast and wine yeast come together, make a baby that is lager yeast. All lager strains in the world today are offspring of those 2 independent freaks of nature.
And it's been around for a while.
Amazing.
Yes.
Argentina to Germany.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fascinating. I would
absolutely fascinating.
Where the hell did it happen?
And now. So now that we know this, there's a company.
You said it was naturally occurring.
It was naturally occurring.
Right. It's naturally occurring, right? It's nobody brought it there. And even if somebody brought it there, Italy went to Argentina. Germany didn't go.
So what's cool about this is that now that we know this, there are yeast labs that are deliberately taking wine yeasts and beer yeasts and putting them next to each other, putting on the berry white, and making new lager strains.
Well, not for nothing. I don't know if you just subliminally knew this. Today is Barry White's birthday.
I did not know that.
You did know that?
I did not know that.
It is his birthday today.
That's great.
I just think this is like beer is, whatever, tens of thousands of years old. And today, as we speak, there are scientists making new lager strains, which I just think is amazing.
That is really, really cool.
That is great. I love it.
I just really hope they don't get to the point where they make one that becomes like massive and sentient and then just infest us all. We all become fermentation products.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like we're creating it. Yeah, exactly.
We are walking lumps of sugar to these things.
Ferment me. That's the new hashtag.
Yes. There's a pub in Rome, Italy called Macasietta Venuta Afa.
God bless you.
Yeah. Say that fast 5 times.
I can't remember the Italian, but the English translation, their t-shirts say, "When I die, I want to be fermented."
Yeah.
I like that.
I do, but I don't want to drink that.
Well, you wouldn't have to now, would you?
Well, I'm saying if someone else died and you fermented them, I'm not drinking it.
Well, that's your call.
That's my call.
Right. And yeah, so I mean, well,
we've drank some weird shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, and I don't know if Don's been to Denver and sat in Wynkoop Brewing.
Which one?
Wynkoop Brewing.
Oh, Wynkoop. Yes, I have.
Yeah. Okay. And enjoyed a nice glass of Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout.
I have not, but we make one here too in Calgary.
Yeah. There you go. Really? So of the three of us on the show, I'm the only one that has had Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout. So
I will get there, and I shall do it.
I got to be honest with you, it was really good. I'm sorry to say. Actually, I'm not. It was really good. It was good. It was really good.
Actually,
people eat them. There's no.
I was going to say when you get into the plains on the sides, all sides of the Rockies.
Yep.
They like to take them. They like to fry them, and they eat the hell out of those things.
Lamb fries.
There's Rocky Mountain Oyster Stouts.
Exactly.
Rocky Mountain Oysters.
Rocky Mountain Oysters, yeah, exactly. But it was, you know what though? It was literally like I was drinking an oyster stout.
Really?
You know, the salinity, the mouthfeel, everything about it. And I use that term loosely, mouthfeel. All right. But
it's the salinity that just gave me the problem.
It wasn't mouthfeel, it was salinity. No, it was seriously, it was very, very, very oyster stout-esque. It was really like spot on to it. It was almost as if they made an oyster stout and just called it that, you know. And because I was drinking it, I'm like, I'm drinking an oyster stout. Yeah. That's why it didn't bother me, because it wasn't getting anything. There wasn't a wang to it or anything like that by any means, you know. You know, as the quote unquote. And
it's funny because most people will have enough issue with just a plain up oyster stout.
Some do.
That's true.
That is very true. I've never had a problem with that. I love oysters. So
you've met Meathead. Oh, and my friend Meathead loves oysters. Mm-hmm. He just didn't want them in his beer, and he said
they're not in the beer. They just they
are and they're not. They are and they aren't, right? Because they throw the whole thing in there. Wow. And he had said to me once, "This is one stout I never want to try." Then he paused. He said, "Unless somehow you can slip this in." And I gave him Pearls Before Swine. Right? What's that? 21st Amendment, right?
Yes, 21st Amendment. And
he's drinking. He doesn't know what it is. He's drinking the beer. He's like, "Wow, I like this. This got this smooth texture to it. This great mouthfeel. Almost chalky, but smoother than that. And there's almost a salinity to it. And you son of a bitch, you gave me an oyster stout." I went, yes, I did.
That's awesome. That was good on him for being able to put that all together.
Oh, he nailed it. And he's like,
that's awesome.
And I like this. He goes, "I will probably never drink one again because my brain can't deal with it." He goes, "But my mouth really enjoyed this." So once he knew what it was, he put it down. He couldn't drink it anymore.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, "I really enjoyed it, but now that I know what it is, I can't drink it." I said,
"That's interesting."
I said, "That's just a psychological thing." He goes, "And I get that. And fuck you. I'm not drinking it."
Not happening.
And I get it, because there's certain things, Americans tend to be a little, tight-assed about some of the things we eat, we won't eat. My first time in Montreal, I got carpaccio, but it was horse. And the guy, the chef, It was a really small restaurant. The chef serving you as he's cooking it, and
It sounds awesome.
right, and he knew that I was American, and so I ordered it, and he looks at me, he goes, "You know what Chevalier means?" I'm like, "It means horse." I know. It's like,
Maurice Horse.
yeah, Maurice horse. He's like, "Okay," so he brings it. I got about 3/4 of the way through it, and I just have visions of Mr. Ed, all kinds of horses, and I said, "This is delicious. I really love this."
But yeah, but you got 3/4 of the way through it, you said.
Yes,
So you loved it.
I really did, but then psychologically, it all just caved in on me.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and goes, "No American's gotten that far on it. Most Americans take 2 bites and then just can't anymore." He goes, so for an American, you did well. So, and the last time I went to Montreal, I did order something that would make most Americans really probably just retch. And I ate the whole thing. It was actually delicious. And it was carpaccio again. This time it was seal.
Seal.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delicious. Little rubbery in texture.
Very, very rubbery. You say a little rubbery. Yeah.
It's not as rubbery. It's not as rubbery as I thought it would be.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I found it.
I thought it'd be a little rubberier than that.
I want to go back to the horse carpaccio story though. Yeah. Please tell me when you had eaten 3/4 of it and were done, please tell me that you pushed the plate away and said, "Nay."
I did not.
Damn it.
You know why? Because I was actually a little ashamed of myself that I couldn't finish it. But I was washing down with a nice red wine. So that really, really helped. But yeah, no, if you want the name of that restaurant, that was it's still there. It survived COVID, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It was I really wish we'd had the time to go back there. I don't know if I could have gotten Carrie to eat horse though. She did take a taste of the seal though. A taste, and that was it. And then she was done.
Now let me ask you, when she had a taste of the seal, did it feel like a kiss from the rose?
Is that weird? Okay.
Yeah, had it.
No.
had to go there.
Yeah. Music on it. But to the point, there's certain, when you take a Rocky Mountain Oyster Stout, there's people that are just going to balk at it because of that. But you're actually, just like with the oysters, they're just in the brew kettle.
That's it.
It's like when people...
It's an adjunct in the brew kettle is all it is.
Well, like how many people balked at Rogue's beard beer? Remember that one?
Yeast. It's just yeast.
It's just yeast. But
hey,
yes.
Hey. Don, let me ask you, did you ever remember the show that James Watt and Martin, whatever.
Brew Dogs or whatever.
Brew Dogs, right?
Yeah.
When the first season they did, all right? The last episode in the first season they brewed a beer with Jim Cook up at Sam Adams. And it was a lobster and clam. I believe it was lobster and clam ale. They actually brewed it on a ship, not a ship, but a boat, right, in Boston Harbor, and then they took the wort back to the brewery in Jamaica Plain, and they put it in one of their outside fermenters, and they stripped down to a bathing suit and got in the beer, and the yeast that they used was their own bodies, right? So I mean, I don't know if I would have had that beer, but again, it's just yeast.
Just yeast.
Right?
Just yeast.
It's just yeast.
And after they come out, then it's boiled.
It's right. Well, no.
Because if they're inoculating yeast, yeah.
Wait a second. Oh, yes. So if they're throwing the yeast,
the wort was done. Like the boiled, they did the mash tun, they did the water, they did the boiled kettle, everything. They did all of that on the boat. They brought the wort back, threw it in the fermenter, and then they got in. It was a vat. It was an outside, open. It was a cool ship, basically, right? And they got in it and fermented the beer themselves. They put their active yeast on their body in the beer.
So they took it. They get in the cool ship, and then they go, "Why is it already bubbling?"
Right.
Huh? What did you? Oh, you got to the Boston. You got to the Boston baked
Well,
beans.
they were in Boston, right? Exactly.
You got to eat the baked beans.
Yeah.
So any yeast on their bodies, any STDs are now in the beer. Excellent.
Yeah.
That one I might give a pass on.
Yeah. Well, apparently everybody that had it loved it. I will say this: do you, Don? You did
On
watch
camera.
those? On camera,
Yeah,
right? Exactly, right. Yeah, it's great. Right. Did you see the one? It was the first season that they did. They went in and they brewed in Kentucky. They went down to Louisville, and they went to Against the Grain, and they brewed a beer with locally sourced mint. They brewed a mint julep beer, right? They made a stout. I believe it was a stout. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was a stout. Higher ABV, higher gravity, and they put it in. They went to Sazerac, and they got
Nice.
they got some Sazerac barrels, they got some Buffalo Trace barrels, and they had one Pappy barrel, and they made this almost like a Ferris wheel of barrels, yeah. And like one, it would just flow into another, rotate through the barrels,
a rotating Solera,
pretty much. And they added the mint in the brew, obviously, but they barrel aged it after the fermentation, obviously, in that and it was I forget what it was called, but that was one of the shows. Now, not too long after that episode, I was in a craft beer bar up in New Haven, Connecticut, that has a connection to, or at least is what they said, had a connection to it Against the Grain. They were actually given a sixth of that beer. And I actually had it there, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. It was so good, so good.
Was that the Wee Heavy? Wee Heavy.
You know what? I want to go to Untapped while you two talk. Right?
That's where I am right now. Actually,
I was wondering though if that beer was a blend of the three barrels, or did they do three different bottlings?
According to when I was at the craft beer bar back then, it was Cask Republic. They're gone. They fell by the wayside. They were part of the whole Ginger Man corporation, and they're defunct now. But they said that it was a blend. It was a blend. So it was, but what they did was, it was each barrel, like there was three barrels worth of beer, and they had this Ferris wheel going. So, but the beer would flow from one barrel to another. It would.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it would pull all of the aspects of each barrel. So there were two Sazerac. I'm trying to remember because the show was so long ago. Was it like almost 10 years ago, right?
Like back when Brewdog was relevant.
Right. Exactly. But it was I think it was two Buffalo Trace barrels, two Sazerac barrels, and one Pappy. I think it was one Pappy 23 barrel they actually got from them, and then did that. But I'm actually going to go to it right now. I'm going to put in cask.
That does actually sound like something I would enjoy, but it's too late now.
Yes, it's a little. Well, that's the point. The thing is, when you get to the point where you're at 27,000 beers, those of us who've had less but still have had a shit ton of beer, you're looking for that thing you've not had before, right? There's like, we were just making fun of hazy IPAs, and I just said that the one I was drinking is a hazy IPA because they kind of all taste alike. So it gets to the point where, very much.
It was called We Mint Well.
We Mint Well.
Ah.
We Mint Well. We Mint Well. Right.
I do like a good pun.
Yes. But the point I was making is, you get to that point where if someone's coming out with something crazy, it might seem completely off the wall, but you want to try it because it's something you haven't had before.
Right.
Yes, what I love to John's very a point long ago. What I love about the beers that amaze me the most are the ones that are just the four ingredients and still blow me away.
Yep.
Yes. But there's two sides to this coin. Absolutely.
Yeah, I will also agree with you that I have been in tap rooms where I read a description and I go, that sound like, who thought of that? That's ridiculous. That is so stupid. And then you have it like, oh my God, that works. I have no idea why that works, but it works.
Yeah, sometimes there are ones that that are amazing. Like you said, it works. But then there's times you're like, no, this is the shit show. You expected.
Yes. Or even worse than the shit show.
It's just the I mean, because it's cuisine, right? It's food. It's what you can create beyond the four ingredients. The four ingredients is art when it comes to brewing, right? Yep. Anything beyond that, now we're diving into food. We're diving into what ingredients play well with others and can make a beautiful marriage to enhance what those other four ingredients are already doing. That's and if the better you can do that, the more amazing beer you're going to brew. So I mean, we do a few of those, but we'll talk more about that later. This isn't a show about us. But yeah, look, I like I said, I mean, digressing back to what we were talking about earlier, this industry is just, it astounds me, amazes me, and I literally wake up every morning loving the fact that I'm part of it in a lot of ways. But I just love it. I do. If you have to, well, let's actually do that afterwards. You know what? We're almost an hour and a half into this. I actually want to get to our top three. What do you think? Because I'm actually really curious what I know what Dave's are already, because we talked about beer.
Yeah, we've been talking about beer this whole time.
We've been talking about beer.
So we're talking about your writing, your other directions that you go with this.
Your other minor passion, if you will.
Financially, it's not a minor passion.
And that's a great point right there, because I'll say one thing right now. You get so many people that will be like, oh, I don't like this particular spirit. I don't like this particular spirit. I don't like this particular spirit, because their first step into it is the rot gut version of that spirit. And I had a friend, him and I used to host spirit parties where we'd pick a spirit.
Yeah. But you know what? That was on around Halloween, and it was a completely different context.
Not that one. Where everybody that came had to bring a top shelf version of that spirit, because let's face it, you don't want to spend $65 to $150 to get into a particular spirit that's out there, because you don't know if you're going to like it or not. You don't know. So when you've got a whole bunch of people all spending just that once, and everyone getting to try it, you can now get an idea. Do you like the spirit? And if you do like the spirit, which ones do you like the best? And so we found great joy in doing this. It was a lot of fun. I came across a lot of things, opened my mind to a whole bunch of different spirits, except for the one that we're going to talk about.
Except for the one we're
going to talk about. Probably, and John knows full well, this is one of the few spirits that I really don't drink and don't 100% it. It's not that I don't appreciate it. Mm-hmm. It's just not to my palate.
I do. It's lower on my totem pole. It's not at the bottom where it is with Dave. It's below. Actually, it's really only below bourbon and gin. I got to be honest. But it's the third down.
For me, it's below bourbon, tequila, rum, vodka, gin.
For me, it's above rum and vodka. It's probably. I'm
Polish. Vodka's got to be high on my scale. By law.
Fair enough. I'm slightly. There's a tiny little piece of me, little part of me, that is Scottish. So, my great grandmother was a quarter Scottish. So there you go. Do the math, whatever that works out to be. What am I, 1/64th or something like that, right?
If we go that way.
But in any event, so yeah, if you haven't guessed already, our top three list tonight is top three favorite scotches. So, Don, why don't you kick it off for us?
Well, so as I said, I used to be a lawyer, so I do have to ask a clarifying question first. Top 3 bottles of Scotch I've tried, or distilleries, or what is the
actual
Bottle.
Scotch, the actual bottle,
the actual Scotch,
bottle.
the actual
Yeah.
bottle? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is gonna sound name droppy, braggy, but there's in about 7 or 8 years ago, I went to a whiskey tasting in Banff, Alberta, which is in the heart of it's the Canadian equivalent of Aspen. It's beautiful. We were at this top-notch hotel, and we tasted. It was a whole weekend of whiskey tasting, and we tasted six different bottles of Bowmore, which is a distillery in the Isla region of Scotland, from 1964. All 6 bottles were from 1964.
Wow.
If you ask anybody who knows anything about about Scotch and what is the most revered Scotch, Bowmore Black is what they will tell you. We had 2 different Bowmore Blacks, one of which I will say will be my top 3. It was I can't even talk anymore. I'm reminiscing. I'm reminiscing about that Bowmore Black.
And your tongue's like, I'm retasting this.
Yes.
I'm not
It's like,
gonna
I
allow you
need
to
some of
speak.
this. Where is this? Where's that bottle? I need that. Yeah.
Just to give, so this was many years ago, and Scotch prices have gone
Little
Through
bit.
the roof.
Little bit.
back then. Those 6 bottles were worth $140,000.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
my
but-
God. So now they're probably, yeah.
So
500.
so Bowmore Black, that's one. Like citrus, cantaloupe, absolutely insane combination of flavors, things that you would not think of in Scotch. The other, a second one in my top 3 was also from that evening, a Bowmore 1964 Fino sherry cask. So it's as most people know, Scotch is by definition aged in used barrels, a barrel that has held something before. So in this case, it was a 1964 distilled Bowmore aged in a Fino sherry cask. Again, I'm a writer. I cannot give you the words to describe.
And that's, like I said, when you're having a meal and no one's speaking, you know it's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When you drink something and you can't put
Right.
words to it.
So to sound a little bit less asshole-ish and a little bit less pretentious,
Mhm.
the third I will add on my list. I will just say my favorite distillery is called Caol, Caol, and then a separate word Ila, and it's a very, very heavily peated. This is the type of whiskey people who don't like whiskey hate. It is super intense, very oily, very smoky. It
pulls in the sea spray as well.
It's R. It is super intense, but very, very complex and unique. You know, there's however many Scotch distilleries in the world. I will wager money anytime I have a Caol blind, I'll tell you what it is, to the point where I've had beers they'll just say aged in a whiskey barrel, and I can tell you if it was a Caol barrel.
It was a Caol.
Wow. That's insane.
So that's my third one.
That's awesome. I love it. Mine are definitely going to pale in comparison to those.
Oh, yeah, yeah. One, not a lawyer, did not have the bankroll you had. 2, probably not explored Scotch as in depth as you.
Well,
have
I
as
would say it's probably more that than the first one you said. But...
No, the first one probably has a lot to do with it as well. But let's face it, bourbon prices are getting up there, and bourbon's my favorite spirit.
I do like bourbon too.
Oh, it's getting up there. But my thing with Scotch is the peatiness. To me, and it brings me back to a story from a bar I was at where a friend of mine had ordered a flight of Scotches. And we're sitting there. He's like, "This, the flavor in this." I said, "Yeah, it's camphor." He's like, no, it's not camphor. It's that stuff that rub on your chest. I'm like, yeah, like camphor.
Okay.
He's like, no, the stuff that wasn't, Vicks. I'm like, oh, you mean camphor Fanica? He's like, yeah, camphor Fanica. Oh, damn it. But at any rate, it's that flavor to me just doesn't work for my palate. I'm not a particular fan of it.
Have you
might have something to do with your Galaxy and
it may.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I wonder.
cilantro, ailment.
So completely non-peated scotches. Have you had Glenfarclas?
I have not. Now my list is dominated by unpeated or lightly peated scotches, or also the scotches that are peated but are mitigated by the heavy sherry barrel aging.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Because that's another way they defeat some of that peatiness is to put them in sherry barrels and mitigate that. So I actually, my top 3 has 4. And,
as most of Dave's do.
Yes, sometimes 5. They're really in no particular order. I don't know that I've gotten into them enough to be able to rate them in one order, but in any order. The Glenmorangie 12-year-old, the Labanta, the sherry cask finish, and this is a Highland Scotch.
Yep.
So it started off probably peated.
No, unpeated.
It is unpeated. So,
yep.
But I do like that. I enjoy it. It's actually sitting right here. I've got one right here.
If you don't want to finish it, I'll finish that.
Bring it up. Bring it up to the camera a little bit closer.
That's it right there.
Gotta love it. There you go.
This I have enjoyed. So that's one. The other 3 I don't have with me. The Balvenie 15-year-old.
Yeah.
That's a Speyside. Speysides are low in peat.
Mm-hmm. I think Balvenie is unpeated as well, actually.
Yeah.
Balvenie's unpeated, yeah.
And then Lowland from the Lowlands, Glen Kinchy 12-year-old.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I do enjoy that one. And then that beautiful blue bottle, right? The Brulotic, the classic laddie. So this is an Islay low peat, Islay low peat, right? Where Islay is really mostly known for being peated beyond belief. But this one, Brulotic made one where they didn't peat it. And even though they didn't really peat it, it still has a smokiness to it. Because it's their tradition, I guess. It's just the way they do things. But I really did enjoy that one. It's got a light smokiness to it. So those are the ones that I've had that I've enjoyed.
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely, you can. I'm going to write it. Glenmorangie.
They have an expression called signet, Signet. It's not cheap.
Like a swan.
Yeah, exactly. It's not cheap. It's around $250 Canadian a bottle here, so it's probably about $200, whatever.
200.
But if you do see it in a bar or whatever, if you don't want to commit to a bottle, I think that you will like that.
That one, okay. Based on what I've,
yeah.
And I may actually have to pour a little snort of this while we're because it's sitting right here.
There you go.
And I mentioned 3, and Dave mentioned 4, so John's going to give us 5.
I'm giving you 3.
Oh.
I'm giving you 3. I'll go 3, 2, 1.
And John, no offense, but I've got to run to the little boy's room.
I'm shocked that you've waited this long.
Be right.
All right. So this is the time in the show when Dave usually chooses to go to the bathroom while I'm giving my top 3. So he rarely listens to my top 3. So.
What was that?
I'm just kidding.
That was
I mean, look, I do enjoy Scotch, not as much as bourbon, certainly not as much as rye. I'm a big rye guy as well, but and I'm a big gin. But I'll drink them all year long, both all 3. But I mean, primarily I'm a April to October gin, and then October to April bourbon and rye, right? But I do enjoy Scotch. In fact, sometimes I prefer. I do enjoy the occasional cigar, and sometimes I'll actually prefer having my cigar with Scotch than more so than with bourbon or rye.
I could understand that. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
So my 3, 2, 1 in that order are going to be in the same town, if you will, as Macallan, right? Is Craig? The name of the town is Craigellachie.
Yep.
And there's another distillery in Craigellachie called Craigellachie. They're a 13-year. It's one of my favorites. It really is. I enjoy Craigellachie. You did you mute you?
Well, you know, if I didn't mute me, you would have heard everything.
Right. I know. Well, you were you were on camera. You're like,
yeah, I know, because I forgot to unmute myself. But you answered my question.
There you go. So Craigellachie 13. That's my number 3. Balvenie. Honestly, most of the Balvenies I do like. I enjoy that distillery, but the Caribbean cask 14.
Oh, I was gonna guess Doublewood, but Caribbean.
See, now Doublewood, I want to try Doublewood.
Doublewood, I haven't had Doublewood either.
I want to try it,
and I've been wanting to try it for many years. I just haven't had the opportunity to try it. Honestly, I would have bought a bottle had I been in a store that actually had it. So
yeah, it's really hard one to find. You read about it all the time, and you just never see it anywhere.
And I mean, very likely, I would assume that will probably supplant, one of these 3. But the Caribbean cask is really tasty from Balvenie. And Macallan 18-year-old sherry cask. That's my number 1. That's by far my number 1. Yeah. I mean, like even if I do get my hands on a double barrel, it's probably not going to supplant Macallan 18.
Yeah, you like the sweet ones, I can see. Yeah.
You know what though? It's not as, to me anyway. I'm not getting super sweet. Even with the Caribbean cask, the Caribbean cask is a little bit more sweet than the sherry.
But when you listen to what Don put out there, all his were spicy.
Yeah.
Yes,
they were. Yeah, they had the spice to it.
John, I want to ask you a question about rye. Do you like Canadian rye?
I do like Canadian rye.
Have you had the Alberta Premium Cask Strength?
I have not.
No,
that is something you need to.
Never even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we both like our ryes.
Okay, well, so there's a whiskey writer who I won't even say by name because I hate him so much.
Is it out of jealousy or
no?
Because
he is
a
douche and super. I am aware of multiple establishments that have banned him from their premises.
Wow! All right, that's a douche.
One of those, yes.
All right.
But he is a famous writer of a whiskey, I guess.
Oh, wait a second, John Hall.
Whiskey writer.
Oh, that's right.
And so he's famous for announcing an annual World Whiskey of the Year, I think is his trademarked phrase. And so this Alberta Premium Cask Strength was named World Whiskey of the Year a couple of years ago. And my natural inclination is to automatically hate it just because he likes it. But so I pay around $60 something a bottle Canadian, so probably around $40 American. It is
really
exceptional, exceptional.
I'm going to do some research to see if any of it's getting down to the States and see if I can get my hands on a bottle.
They're a fairly large distillery, so there's some chance. Yes.
Right. No, I definitely will.
So I just found a picture of the guy. He looks like a douche.
Yes.
Oh my God. Could you be any fuller of yourself?
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
But,
sorry.
Yeah. And I can be honest with you.
Yeah. If I could Google it that quickly, our listeners can figure out who it is.
Yes.
Really.
We actually went to, and I've said this before on the show, but for you, we actually went to CB's Craft Brewers Conference. It was in Nashville this year.
Yes, I was
there.
And yes.
You were. I didn't see you.
It's such a small
because Nashville is
thing.
such a small thing, right? But and what's funny? Well, hold on. Were you at Barrique at all with John?
I was.
Okay, so you and I were probably standing next to each other at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, but in any event, what you call it? So on the way back, we drove because we wanted to hit breweries on the way. We're like, you know what? Let's not fly. Let's just drive. Nashville's not that far. We went down 5 hours at a time. Went to Richmond, Asheville, over to Nashville, and then they hit Louisville on the way back. Was the first stop on the way back. So And we had a couple of we went on a couple tours that we had set up through our maltster, and which we call it Rabbit Hole is one of them. Amazing stuff they're doing there. The 1 5-grain rye that we had there was stupid good. But then we went over to Peerless, Kentucky Peerless, and their double rye is amazing. It's just, I mean, it's just so good. So yeah, I mean, you know, and it's, I mean, it's a little bit up there, but it's not, you know,
This is
it's
what I
not
love
ridiculous.
about bourbon rye, is that there's no ridiculous. Well, Pappy's ridiculous.
Pappy's
But there's very little ridiculous.
Pappy's just stupid. Yeah.
There's very little ridiculous in bourbon and rye. I agree.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's so good.
But the thing about that is, we look at, you know, the whiskeys, the bourbons, the ryes. We're looking down to Kentucky. We're looking to Tennessee. We're looking to that area, and that's where you were, which is great. But you can still get, like to Don's point, one in Canada. There's one I had from New York that was out Catskill Distilling.
Mm-hmm.
Their rye is really, really, really good. It's one of the best ryes I've ever had. I haven't had a rye. I'm really interested to taste the one that you mentioned.
I'm gonna look for this Alberta Premium.
Yeah, if we can find it,
Wow.
Because nothing's topped that one from Catskills Distilling. So that's the whole thing with bourbon. I take bourbon. Bourbon's got a very. People think bourbon needs to be from Kentucky. It does not. Right. The requirements are a certain percentage of corn.
51.
Right. It has to be new charred white oak barrels.
Mm-hmm.
These are the two requirements.
And aged
There's one other.
3 years.
3 years.
It's 3 years. Yeah.
These are the requirements for it. They can, so it can come from any state.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it can be a bourbon outside of the United States.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But bourbon can come from any state, and there's some pretty damn good bourbons out there from outside of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Rye's rye. There's no controlling body on rye,
Yeah.
so you can get a rye from anywhere. So this one, John, if you can find it, let me know.
I'm gonna look, and if I locate it, I'll just grab 2 bottles. And we'll
Get 2 bottles. I'll Venmo you for the other. Definitely interested in trying it. One of my favorite things are Manhattans, and I love both bourbon and rye Manhattans.
Mm-hmm.
And I love playing around with the ingredients on it, changing up the bitters in it
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, and sometimes switching out the vermouth, something else for the vermouth.
Yeah, I mean, I've made a Manhattan with Amaro, not instead of vermouth.
Yeah,
You know, I've made an old fashioned with. One of my favorite old fashions to make is, and you know, I've said this on Tom's show a few times, and I got Tom drinking them, right? Bourbon, instead of simple syrup, Vermont maple syrup, right? And instead of Angostura or orange bitters, black walnut bitters, and still put a little Luxardo in there, and it's a fantastic old fashioned. I mean, is it a true, you know, old fashioned? No, because it doesn't have simple syrup and Angostura bitters, but it's really good. And then I've actually replaced the I mean, you can call it a hybrid between a Manhattan and an old fashioned, but I've actually used Nocino in one as well, and it's which is a black walnut liqueur, for an Italian black walnut liqueur. But yeah, they're just play around. It's fun, right? Find what you like and drink it.
But this turns into a question for Don. So you drink your scotches, you drink your bourbons, probably like many people like myself at most times drink it neat. You paid too much for this bottle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want to taste you want to taste the liquid.
Yeah.
You want to taste the artistry of who has made this, the distiller, and is how you want to. Yes, there are those who are the proponents of putting that big ice cube in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I want it neat.
No, I want it neat.
It
depends.
But I haven't reached my question yet.
Good.
So, figuring this out about you, and for the longest time, I would not drink cocktails. I just wanted all my spirits neat. Do you do cocktails?
The short answer is no. I generally
what I figured.
don't do cocktails. I do. Oh man, I think there is a lot of pretentiousness around cocktail culture.
Agreed.
But having said that,
but if you listen, John,
a lot is an understatement because I'll agree with you 100%.
John and I are talking about some of the old school ones, the non-pretentious, where we just have a little fuckery added to it.
Fuckery.
I'm a food guy as well,
as most craft beer drinkers are.
Right,
yes.
exactly. So there's a guy, Daniel Burns is his name. Was a Michelin star chef. I actually don't know what he's up to now. The restaurant he was at closed. But he had a book, or has a book, and one of the things he said in it is, chefs that are lacking in confidence always feel they need to do more to prove their worth. But a real chef, the greatest job of a real chef is to find the best ingredients and showcase that ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I've been on
I've been
on a Bourdain tear, and that is a common theme.
Right. So why is sushi so amazing?
It's simple.
Because it's simple. You just you don't even cook it.
Right. The fish.
It's so
maybe a little topping, a little glaze.
Right. So to me, spirits are the same way. I want to have the distiller made this, aged it, bottled it, and when they bottled it, they said, "This is the way I want it." Mm-hmm. And who am I then to say,
change that? Absolutely.
Yeah. Fuck you. I'm going to make this better.
100% agree with you. That's why, and what I think where John was about to go was that when we do our cocktails, we're not using these spirits. We're using.
Right. There's a plateau. Anything under that plateau goes into my cocktails. Everything over that plateau, neat. Done.
Right.
And John knows I probably drink maybe 4 cocktails total. I do like to mess around and make my own every now and then. Just take stuff off the bar, mix it, whatever.
As you might in the kitchen too, right? Like you
exactly.
Well, what Dave will do sometimes is he'll actually make a cocktail, but actually it's more of an infusion into his spirit, and then he'll drink that spirit neat with the infusion in it. So
yeah,
it's a cocktail, but it's still
I've got a whole bunch. One of my favorite things to do is to infuse ancho peppers into vodka. And you get a little bit of heat, you get some smoke to it. And here I am saying I don't like Scotch because of the peat and the smoke, but it's a different type of smoke. Right. So I like to do that, but I like to use that and play around with those it's just messing around cocktails. Like you said, you're like in the kitchen. And as a foodie, wonder what you think about this. I've always thought that when it comes to being able to invent things, it's not the having all the options available to you to be inventive. It's the cut it down. This is all I have. Absolutely. That's where creativity comes from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you know what? You know who understood this? Walt Disney understood this. If you listen to what he would do anytime he had a movie, an animated movie coming out, he would give his animators, these are the colors you're allowed to use. This is it. And they had to get creative with those colors. Mm-hmm. When you limit possibilities, that's when creativity.
Yeah. Steve Jobs as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you cannot have 2 buttons on that mouse.
Yeah.
Figure out how to make everything work with 1 button.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the mother of invention.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I love to play with stuff this is what I've got. Let me see what I can do with it.
Yeah. And you know what? Bring that back around to beer.
Yeah. You got the 4 ingredients.
You got the 4 ingredients.
You said.
Make it work with 4 ingredients.
But today's
give me 5 different beers with 4 ingredients that taste distinctly different and amazing in and of themselves. And you pass the test. That kind of thing.
Which can be done, but nowadays we have far too many ingredients out there that are leaching itself into beers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it in very, very good ways. We've had many discussions about lactose.
Yeah,
I love what you just said.
Don's reaction
says everything.
Perfect.
And it comes right back to cuisine. I think that lactose is like salt, where lactose used in the right measure can enhance a beer. Too much, and you've destroyed the beer.
Put a little bit of lactose in an imperial milk stout. You put any more than that in anything else,
and as far as I'm concerned, if your usage of lactose has changed the mouthfeel, you've ruined the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Lactose should never become part of the mouthfeel.
It's got to be an accent to it. It's not. It can't be can't be the front and foremost part of the beer. So. But that's a discussion for another day. So that's a whole other show. All right, Don, what do you have coming up on your
Yeah, do you plan your articles, or do they just like I've got to write something? Is it like a pressure? I've got to write something now, and then you figure something out, or something topical comes up, and now you've got to write about it.
It's a little bit of both. I do have some ideas that I'm working on. And then some, like, for example, if they were to announce something about Anchor, I would write about it. I would drop everything and write about it. So it's a little bit of both. But what do I have planned? You mentioned John Hall. We're going to Germany in about a week and a half for Oktoberfest. And we're going to go to Bamberg as well.
Is he gonna wear lederhosen?
I don't know. That's up to him.
Don, if he does, take a picture, email it to me, please.
Because I want to see someone. I really want to see someone wearing lederhosen and a bow tie.
Huh?
That would be.
We'll work on that.
Yeah,
because he would.
He would. Be
my first time.
He definitely would.
So to Oktoberfest. So quite excited about that. Also going to Bamberg. Which will be my second time to Bamberg, and
going to Exlankala.
Exlankala, exactly. And what am I working on? I'm writing an article about new barley varieties,
interesting,
new breeds of barley,
new hybrids.
Yep.
I just want to show you this picture on my phone while I got it up here before I forget. Again, hold that thought right there. This is myself and my business partner, my brewer Matt, with John in Minneapolis last year at CBC. Matt and I are a little tall. That's all.
And the bow tie has been undone.
The bow tie was undone.
It's deep into the drinking when the bow tie comes undone.
That was post podcast with Marcus Baskerville, Doug Valicki, and a few other people too. So that was an interesting night. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Don, do you know what which tet you guys are going to be in at Oktoberfest?
Yeah. Which.
Well, so we're going. There's a group of 8 of us, and we're all beer writers. So we all contacted our various contacts to get VIP access to various tents. I guess I'll just say.
Oh, now that's special.
That's great.
Yeah, we're gonna have. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Are you guys going to go live at all while you're there? Or are you just going to write about it after the fact?
Probably the latter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy
yourselves there and then think back and write.
Because you do not want video records.
Well, no. That's me and you, Dave. That's not John and Don. All right.
There might be a reason it's called Hall and Ass.
I will say this though. I don't know if you've been to Germany or Austria. The Helles lagers there, the way they brew them, the 4 ingredients.
Sure.
I remember being in a beer garden in Austria, and I probably had 4 liters of beer in one afternoon, and was fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's no hangover. It's a different experience. It
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Actually, I'm trying to plan my April trip. And this year we switch off between who gets to do the domestic, who gets to do international. It's my turn to do international. And Munich, Bamberg, Berlin is very, very high up on
Yeah,
my
but
list.
you might need to hold off on that because we might be going to.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of mites. This has been mites for about
No,
2 years
no.
now.
We'll know that. We'll know that. No. We will know that in the next month or so. We'll know that. If that's
We bet. Well, I got to book my flight soon for this, so it's either going to be that. There's a possibility of going to Porto as well because I love my port.
He does love his port.
I absolutely love my port. I know too much about port, more than an American should know. Probably.
There's a couple of port bottles back here behind the coastal cans right here. There's a couple of port bottles back there. So.
Just sitting right over here.
Even so, other than port, do you like wine as well?
Oh hell yeah!
Because I've been to Portugal. I've been fortunate enough to go to Portugal.
Oh, so you've had the Vino Verde and
Vino Verde, and the amazing thing is, you go to the corner store,
yeah,
and you can buy. I don't want to oversell it, but you can buy a good bottle of wine for under €3.
That's one thing that amazed me about Italy.
Yeah,
you would get a bottle of wine that in this country would be $65, and it's €12.
Yeah,
and it's just the wine in my favorite country for wine is actually Italy. I love my reds, and I love all the different varieties of reds that Italy makes because North Americans, include the Canadians in this, probably do not understand the different varieties of reds. We know our Chiantis, we know maybe a Valpolicella, a D'Abruzzo, maybe a few other styles.
You know, you're selling people a little way too much because a lot of people won't know as much as you just said. Even
well, so I thought wine was broadly broken down into two groups:
red and white. And the box stuff, man.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you know this. You know what goes great with a good box of wine? A nice can of cheese.
Anyways, I interrupted Dave. Sorry.
No, but very, very humorously so. I enjoy that. But there's so many different varieties of wine in Italy that we don't know here.
Yeah.
So to go there and delve into these wine varieties, and the flavors we came across when we were in Italy, this one, and I'm not gonna remember it. Damn it! It was dry. Had an earthiness to it. You could still taste the berry, but it was like the berry had been buried in earth for a while. And it was just fantastic. Begins with an R, and I can't remember it right now. But it's I searched for it here. $65 a bottle is the entry level, and I was getting it for €8 over there. And it's just so to your point, you can.
You're gonna love Portugal. I'll tell you that.
Go to Portugal. Yeah. Well, on that note, for me, reds, out of country, obviously, over in Europe. Reds,
Refosco. That's the style I was talking. Refosco.
Reds, Italy. For me, whites, Germany.
German whites tend to be too sweet for me.
You know what? I don't like the real sweet ones, but the ones that are like
kind of like a dry Riesling.
A dry Riesling. I love a good Gewürztraminer, but it can't be too sweet. If it's too sweet, I don't want it.
That's a hard thing to find, though.
It's hard to find. It's hard to find a not overly sweet Gewürztraminer.
I'm gonna offend a lot of Germans here. The best Gewürztraminers come from outside of Germany.
Really?
Because the German Gewürztraminers are too sweet. The other Gewürztraminers from North America are not sweet. Well, so I shouldn't say not as sweet.
Not as sweet. Yeah. The sweet. Yeah, I don't mind the sweet, but it can't be like cloying. It can't be just. I can't drink. I'm not. Yeah.
You can't handle a leaf for milch.
No.
Don, what's your favorite country for wine?
I tend to like New World. I do like big, bold Argentinian Malbecs.
I was going to say you're probably talking about Argentinian Malbecs, and I agree with you. They are
and great value. Like a $15 bottle is great,
and nothing goes better with a side of cow. And I'm talking, and I'm not joking here. When it comes to Argentina, It is a side of cow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's not a big steak.
It's about right.
Whole,
yeah.
It's pretty much the whole side of the cow.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And so your favorite style is Malbec, then I would guess.
Yeah, but even though, I mean, I like anything else. I like things well crafted. I do like a good Bordeaux. I do like, I take everything too far. So I'm all about, malolactic fermentation.
You are in good company here, my friend.
Absolutely. All right. So you got that trip going on. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of writing about that.
Oh, will there be schnapps involved?
I'm sure.
I'm not a big schnapps guy, but I'll probably have
No. German schnapps
versus I agree.
The schnapps we get here.
Night and day.
No, German schnapps are rocket fuel. And they are fantastic. I introduced Carrie to European schnapps when we had a layover in Iceland. Good stuff.
Gotta love it. So what else other than the Oktoberfest trip over to Munich and Bamberg, which I'm sure John may or may not be drinking,
a smoke beer,
a route beer. I'm gonna guess he might have one.
Or 27
or 30, somewhere in there. But just like that event at Barrique, I'm pretty sure that since you and I we're probably standing next to each other, we probably had a few smoke beers that night. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was the whole premise of that night.
Yep.
But in any event, what else you have coming up? Even further out that you are planning anyway.
No, not a lot. Asheville, as I mentioned, for the first time in my life, which is how can I have had 27,000 beers and never been to Asheville, North Carolina? But going there in October for the first time. I've already booked my accommodations for CBC next year.
Nice.
In April in Las Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah. So we'll definitely have to. If for some reason there's no chance for us to have a beer somewhere together between now and April, we'll hook up in April in Vegas. So that'll be fun.
I may be in Portugal.
Have at it. Don and I will be in Las Vegas. So.
Yep. Drinking together. Sending you photos of us. And then you will respond with photos of your €2 bottle of wine that is delicious.
Yeah. Exactly. You're gonna see photos of half-dressed John Hall.
No. Well, half-dressed is the bow tie open. That's all it is.
That is half-dressed John Hall.
And Augie may or may not be in the picture together. So I'm not.
We can't say that name again.
I said it once. I didn't say it 3 times. We can say it one more time. We can't say it a third.
And I'm sure Don's quite aware of that individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Who isn't? I mean, you could really walk into some rural community in Alaska and ask him if he knows who that is. Oh, him. Yeah. Bury in New Jersey. Yeah. But anyway. All right. Great. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk after I do the sign off, but you'll go ahead, Dave. What do you want to tell him?
I wasn't going to tell him anything. I was just
that I'm going to do the sign off, whatever. So
he does this whole sign off thing. He talks about.
Shut up!
He does this, and he's got his notes off there to the right. You'll see him looking off to what we see is left, but it's his right. Actually, it's reversed, so it is his left.
No, it is my right. It is your right.
It is your right.
But I have it set so that I'm actually looking right at the camera.
Oh, nice.
So. And it goes on. He barely breathes during it. It has changed over the past.
My radio announcer voice actually takes over. So,
and the thing is, he will read his notes. He doesn't have to. There was one time he was without his notes, and he still nailed it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't.
We've done a few shows that were on
remote.
Location. We were remote with Montauk last October and a few others, but. I didn't need them, but I use them as it's
a crutch.
It's a crutch. It's a crutch. Yeah. But in any event, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll wrap up the show for today on that note. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening.
I need a Jersey Johnny hand puppet for this.
There you go. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lageroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel.
Don,
all of them are at the Lager Room.
You're allowed to heckle him.
You can, because he does every day, so it's fine. He does even when we talk on the phone, he heckles me.
I
While
can
we're talking to
imagine.
him. So,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
You're just having a beer, and he will have.
Exactly right. So remember, we go live with video podcasts on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night, usually around 6:30 p.m. Tonight was a little different. My fault. I work inhaled. I mean,
We had a stuck mash.
We had a stuck mash. We had an 8-hour lauder today. So anyway, for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on.
That's a ton of lauder.
Exactly. For those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on our brand new host, Spreaker, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and some brand new platforms, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, pretty much anywhere you can download a podcast, you can find our podcast. And if you
this was less smooth than usual.
It was because I'm looking at you and I'm looking at your shirt. It says "feck" on it, and I'm wondering why that vowel is wrong.
It's not wrong. It's they use feck and they use fuck.
Yeah.
It's just move on. Keep going.
I gotcha. There you go. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Drink a lot of beer, but drink responsibly. And we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Oh, by the way, once again, Don, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Amazing show. Literally, I could have sat here for another hour or two and just continued.
I love talking about beer.
Yeah.
And anything. But
you will be back on the show several times.
I'm telling you right now, the insight that you gave us into the Anchor situation is probably something we never would have thought of. Mm-hmm. It was an angle that is not commonly known, but it is amazing to understand this at that deeper level. It didn't completely undermine my hope for this. If anything, it may have bolstered it a little bit.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I'm a little bit more at ease, even though it's little trepidation and here and there, and still hopeful, but a little bit more at ease with the whole thing, based on your your knowledge of the fact and your knowledge of the process too. I mean, that's what it was really all about.
Yeah. And maybe one of these days we'll have a barley show.
Oh, that would be my pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If I may, I'm kind of colloquially known as the Don of Beer, and for listeners who don't know me, then across all social media, I'm at the Don of Beer.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. And check out his webpage. Because I was on there. There's some interesting stuff on there. He the one thing I'll say about Don is he is extremely self-deprecating.
It's easy to do when you suck.
There you go. Right there. He just proved it to us. Don, you don't suck. There's no to steal again. Matt Patensky, there's absolutely no sucking.
There's zero suck. Is zero suck in that right there. There you go. So.
No, and apparently a big Simpsons fan, from what I could garner.
Yes,
these things. But anyway, yeah, check out his website. It links to almost all the places he writes for, and he does mention all the places he writes for. You will get to see his reviews of beers, his review of scotches, and there's a lot of great information on there. As much as he likes to downplay it. Mr. Tse he's quite knowledgeable, and he's not shy about sharing it.
Saying like I'm not blowing smoke up his ass by any means, but saying he's quite knowledgeable is
probably an understatement.
It's an understatement, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
So definitely check it out. You'd have to really work hard to not learn something.
Yeah. I think you have to work hard to not learn something about beer generally, because beer is just so fucking amazing.
It is.
So
it is. You have to work at it to be not as knowledgeable in it. It's more of an effort to not know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You have to consciously stay stupid.
Right. Exactly. So, anyway, all right. Stick around. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. We'll be right back with you, but we're done with the podcast. Everybody,
we're saying goodbye to all you.
We're saying goodbye to everybody out there. Thank you,
all you ignoramuses that don't know nearly as much as Don.
Exactly. Once again, Don, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. We will talk to you. We will talk to you soon. We'll have you on again. And folks, once again, have a lot of beer.
Have a lot of beer. Drink a lot of beer.
Drink a lot of beer, but drink
it responsibly.
There you go.
And rye.
And rye, and wine, and port, and scotch, and bourbon, and rye, and gin.
Tequila. Don't leave out tequila.
Don't leave out tequila. Don't want to do that.
Do not leave out.
We said port. I said port. I did. Anyway.
Thank you, everybody.
We will talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.
They found the face down in his waffles, maple syrup dripping from his fake rug. Who did he see when he heard who was there? Now it seems that he shit out of luck. This little penny went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy's eating corned beef in the back of a Ford Pinto. You better run, you better go, 'cause you're messing with a big toe. You better run, you better go, 'cause you're messing with a big toe,